There are a few questions that you should ask yourself and answer before you bring a puppy into your life. And we've conveniently packaged them as 5 W's. It's exactly what we're talking about today on the McCann Dogs podcast. I'm Instructor Shannon. Welcome back to McCann Dogs. What would you think the W's are? What's one of the W's that you think?
Well, I would think, who?
Who's the puppy?
No, are you the puppy?
Yeah. Am I the puppy or are you the puppy? So what do you mean by who? When we say answer the question of who, what are we talking about?
Who's going to do all the work?
Yeah. That's exactly it. You're nominated to do all the work.
Yes. Puppies bring a phenomenal life change to us. Yeah. Habits that we had or things that we indulged in suddenly have to be put on the back burner often because now we have to look after this puppy. Yeah. So who's going to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. That is a very good question to have asked and answered before you get started with the puppy. Who's doing the majority of the work? And maybe even before you bring home the puppy, really. Like, who is going to be the primary caregiver? And I mean, if you have a lot of people in your family, so say there's 4 of you, say there's 2 adults and 2 kids. So there's 2 adults in the home that are going to take a lot of the responsibility. And of course, the 2 kids are doing what? They're promising.
Yes.
The moon and the stars. I'll do everything. I'll do everything. I'll do everything. Know that is not going to last. No. It really isn't. I mean, the excitement and the novelty is there, and the kids are going to love playing with the puppy forever. That's a guarantee.
Right, yes.
There's no question that the kids are going to adore
their puppy. They love the glory, but they don't want the work.
Exactly. And that's understandable, and once that novelty of the puppy wears off, we need to be realistic that if you are getting the puppy for the entire family, it's going to be the adults in the relationship that are doing the overwhelming majority of the work, despite what the kids promise. And this is something that I have really tried to hit home with my sister and her partner, because they have kids who have been bugging for a dog for so long. And I've said, like, it's going to be one more thing for you guys to be doing and looking after. And trust me when I say we hear this story all the time. Well, we got the dog for the kids and they promised to do this, that, and the other, and now they just ignore the dog and yada, yada, yada. So
yes. And expecting normal. Kids to clean up after them too. I think my son Ty, I managed to convince him once to pick up after Cowboy.
How did you convince him?
I think I said,
was it bribery?
I think it was just try it, Ty, try it.
Candy.
And I remember he picked it up and said, "Oh, it's firmer than I thought."
Did he actually use the word firmer?
Yeah.
How old was he?
I can't remember. He's probably...
I can totally picture him saying
that. Yeah, it's firmer than I thought. And then that was it. Never again did he pick up after the dog. Yeah. And in fact, if one of the dogs threw up and I wasn't home, he would put newspaper over it.
My goodness.
He'd send me a text like, "Cowboy threw up. I put some newspaper over it for you." It's like, "Thanks, Ty. Can't wait to get home."
Well, there you go. I mean, at least it was going to be covered then.
Right, yes.
Right?
Cover it with newspaper.
Well, that is hilarious. And next time I see Ty, I'm going to tease him a little bit about that. Now that he's 20 and he can take it.
Right, yes.
Oh my goodness.
I think that he'd probably still do that, because he'll be home at Christmas. And I bet if Honda throws up over Christmas, I'm going to get a text. "Honda threw up. I put some newspaper over it."
You know what? You should put a pooper scooper in his stocking stuffer.
I should.
In his stocking as a stuffer.
Yes.
See what he thinks of that.
Yeah, I don't think he would.
Ty, I think it was time for you to take responsibility for picking up vomit. You can use the pooper scooper. Yeah. You don't have to use your hands. Oh my goodness. You can also give him some newspaper in case he objects.
Right,
to picking up the vomit. Oh my goodness.
Ty and I had also decided we wanted pet rats when Ty was probably about 12 or 13.
We used to talk a lot about rats because we both had pet rats, and I bet a lot of people are going, "Oh my gosh," right now.
They're like little mini dogs.
They really are. They're so wonderful and smart and trainable and gregarious, and they're fun pets, and they live longer as a general rule, they tend to live longer than like the hamsters and the gerbils and whatnot.
Yes.
So you get a little bit more attached.
Right. And they're very trainable. They want to do things with you. Yes.
Yeah.
So our litter rats were litter trained. Our baby rats were litter trained. We got them from a breeder.
Okay.
So we actually went to a rat breeder who bred for different varieties and colors, and she showed them. And so they came to us litter trained, which was amazing. And I remember saying to Ty, like, can you scoop the baby rat's litter box? And he looked at me like I had 3 heads. And right then I knew I'm on my own with these baby rats.
Oh my goodness.
Ty played with them, and he liked to feed them and, put fun things in for them to do. But when it came to the actual grunt work of keeping these baby rats clean, it comes down to mom.
Yeah, no doubt. And it'll be the same with dogs. So always consider that when you're making your plan to bring home your new puppy, and consider how much time you have as adults to be able to put into this dog and this puppy. And not only that, but you're going to also have to spend time coaching the kids. Depending on their age, depending on their ability to help manage the puppy, you'll also have to spend time teaching them how to interact appropriately with the dog. A lot of times people have this sort of, I always call it the Disney model in their head, where, my dog Skip, for example, this adorable little Jack Russell puppy came home, and off they went to gallivant in the field and have all these adventures, and, nothing ever went wrong that wasn't comedic. And unfortunately, that's not reality.
That is not reality.
There's a reason that we get lost in movies and the wonder of movies, and it's because they're far from reality.
Yes,
Truly.
Yes. I always, reminded Ty that when we get our puppy, it's going to nip us.
Yes.
It might wreck one of your toys if we're not careful.
Yeah.
It's going to pee on the floor, and you might step in it if we're not watching. So,
this is so good.
I'd like to remind him that, puppies are work, and it's not going to be perfect like we see on TV in the cartoons and in Disney movies.
No gallivanting and rumping in the field.
Yeah, puppies have sharp toenails, and you're going to get your leg scratched. You're going to get puppy, he used to call it breath. Cowboy's breath is on my toy. And it's like, you're going to get breath on you. Like the words he came up with. Yes. But it's like, they lick you. They're gross. They're wet.
So he didn't like the breath then?
No, he did not want cowboy breath on things.
It's not like when you go, puppy breath.
Right. I love so puppy breath. I love it.
It always smells like coffee to me.
Right.
Yeah. And my first toller, his puppy name in the litter was Maxwell. They were all coffee names.
Oh,
so
that's
there was
fun.
Nabob, and he was Maxwell, as in Maxwell House. But then he became Jaden.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So determining who is going to do the majority of the work, and people often come to our classes as a family, which we love. We absolutely love when everybody comes. We actually stipulate, though, that one person does the handling each week with the dog. And there's a couple of reasons for that. The biggest one, though, is that we want consistency. We want to be able to give 100% of the information to one person. And then that one person, their job is to go home and keep everybody else in line, really, to spend some time teaching the people and having them work with the dog and supervising them working with the dog, etc. And in a perfect world, everybody pitches in.
Yes.
But
everyone practices at home, but one person does the class.
Exactly. And everybody else in the family can spectate the class.
Yes.
But of course, it's not a perfect world. And a lot of the times, the majority of the work is going to fall on that one solo person. And everybody else is going to sort of pitch in a little bit, but probably the extension of having all of the information given to all of the people in the family can be a little bit tough. And that's especially true if the rest of the family doesn't come and spectate classes. So be prepared as well. If you're the big heavy taking on the responsibility of the dog training, there's going to be a little bit of frustration where the people in the family maybe do things a little bit differently than you're trying to do things, and trying to get them on board and consistent with the information and the feedback that they're giving to the puppy is also going to be a challenge for you. So the person who does the training should have the patience that is required.
Right. And the time.
And the ability to set aside some time to do the practice, but also to make sure that things are going well on a day-to-day basis. Right. And that when you're not in training mode per se, the dog is still getting good information from everybody in the family and management is being used and in place. So talk a bit for a second about what are some of the things that I mean when I say management.
Management is ensuring that things go right. So not managing means that things are going badly, and the puppy's getting into bad habits, it's getting into mischief, it's believing that, going in the kitchen garbage is fine. It's believing that going in the bathroom garbage is fine. So management is preventing.
What about the basement garbage?
That's okay. That's okay. No. No, if they're getting down into the basement, who knows what mischief they're getting into down there.
Yeah.
But so managing is preventing bad behaviors and setting up the puppy to be right.
Yes, absolutely. That's a really good description in a nutshell, because it's so important that they not rehearse a whole bunch of bad behaviors before they learn the right behaviors, because then what you're doing is you're trying to not only train the right behaviors, but you're also trying to erase something that's potentially been done and created a habit in the meantime.
Right, yes. Like one thing, when we brought Atari home, the breeder had let her go into their bathroom and unravel the toilet paper.
Oh, fun stuff.
So, now she did warn us. She says, I'm sorry, but I've allowed the puppy to do this. So she gave us a warning, which was great on the breeder's part.
Yes, definitely.
It is kind of cute. But sure enough, when, once Atari kind of got adjusted to the house, she loved to run into the bathroom, and I'm watching her all the time. So I would get up and follow her. Sure enough, she was heading right to that toilet paper roll. And because it was cute, I let her do it.
Okay.
And Ty and I laughed and thought it was funny. And then you know what happened? It started happening a lot. And we started having to manage now the behavior of always going in and checking her or keeping the bathroom door closed.
Right.
So I had to untrain it. Now, it was kind of, not a bad behavior, but if that had been something really bad, that would have been much harder to do. So even if a behavior's cute, if it's something you don't want, it's best to shut it down.
Yeah. You always say, don't let the puppy do anything that you wouldn't let the adult dog do.
Right.
And that's not to say that you can't make a mistake. That's not to say that your puppy can't be a normal puppy and make mistakes. But what we don't want to do is set up a situation where they can rehearse over and over and over again that same mistake, because that's what becomes normal for them.
Right, yes.
Right? So then that rehearsal predicts the behavior that they're going to exhibit. And now we end up in that situation where we have a problem to step back and solve.
Yes.
So this actually leads really nicely into the next point, which is what?
What?
It actually is what? So what are we teaching?
Right.
So what are
we doing with this puppy?
When you bring home your brand new puppy that's coming, because, we need puppies.
I know. You need a puppy soon,
I
too. I know you have one
soon.
on order. It's on order.
I've actually been waiting for a while. And
I thought you would have had your puppy by now.
Yeah. So, just a variety of circumstances. The female wasn't coming into season. The breeder's out in BC, so there was some wildfire issues, and that sort of upset things. And just lots going on. And, stars didn't align sort of thing. Right. But I have a puppy coming soon.
Yes. So. And your breeder's a very ethical breeder. She's not going to breed under bad circumstances.
No.
She's going to wait till she has people on a waiting list. Yeah. She's not just randomly breeding and hoping for the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, she's amazing. I could go on and on and on about why I'm going all the way to BC. We're in Ontario, and I'm going all the way to BC again for a puppy, and I don't begrudge that extra expense or time at all. I'm excited to do it because I know that it's going to be worthwhile to make that trip out.
And road trip.
Yeah, road trip. I'm actually going to fly just because I could road trip it out and then fly back potentially, but then
that's a long drive from Ontario.
And actually when I picked up Ned, I looked into that because I thought that would be a great idea. I didn't want to have a puppy spend all that time in the car because it's such a long drive, like day or two or whatever. I don't even know how long it is, but it's a 4-hour plane ride, so it's a significant.
Oh, I think it would take you probably 3 or 4 days to drive across Canada. Yeah,
and I didn't want to put a puppy through that.
Right,
but I thought, okay, well, if I rent a vehicle and then leave it out there, surely Hertz can take a vehicle from one location to the other, and they can, but it costs you a lot more money. And I thought, I'm already spending a lot of money here.
You should take a train.
Just fly out.
You should go on the Rocky Mountaineer.
I looked at that option as well, and I decided against that because it was a very long train ride back. So again, it was the same thing. I don't know why I didn't think about train out and then flight back, but I think by the time I had gone through all these options, I just thought, oh, you know what, I'm just going to fly out, fly back, and then life will move
and
on.
then you get Yeah. It's over and done with. You got your puppy home.
Yeah.
I'll piggyback you out next time.
That sounds like a great idea. And you know what? It would be so much fun.
We would have a fun time.
We would have a blast road tripping all the way out. Oh, that'd be cool. Okay. I'm counting on that.
Podcast road trip.
I'll get you some wheels so that as you're piggybacking me, you don't even have to walk. Like
That's
we
a good
can
idea.
just roll.
A segue.
Maybe we'll do wheels and a big fan. We're getting into like Acme territory. I think I'm going to have to place an order. We'll see what comes. Okay.
Our cross Canada trip.
Okay. So after we get back from our cross Canada trip, say you got a puppy too.
Okay.
Get a taller puppy.
Oh, I don't know. I've heard they're naughty.
So if we went out, you brought home a taller puppy and I brought home a taller puppy.
Right.
What are some of the first things that you are teaching? So here's the what.
Well, I definitely want to get a start on crate training.
Okay.
Response to name and housebreaking.
Okay. Good call.
Those are my big ones.
Yeah, those are really important things.
Oh, and not chewing things.
Yeah. Yeah. Good one.
Yeah.
Good one. And just regular life and what we're doing with our puppies. But what I like to think about in those early stages of what we're training. So those are all sort of skills that you've taught. I also like to make sure that I have a lot of opportunity to teach learning systems. So I want my puppy to be able to follow food as a lure without leaping through the air and trying to grab it, without misunderstanding what it is that we're doing.
Right.
I want to have a really smooth follow with that food so that I can then transition that into positions and all sorts of other things. So I want to teach my dog how to lure, which is a learning system. I also want to teach my dog how to offer behaviors.
Right. Yes.
Because I want a dog that's thoughtful and then thinks, how can I get that reward in this situation? Because of course, then they get into the pattern of thinking about good behavior versus thinking about being self-serving.
Right.
So I would much rather have my puppy be in the kitchen and looking at me and trying to figure out how they can get that goodie versus being in the kitchen and smelling something on the counter and just trying to like jump up and get it themselves.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Everything should come through us.
Yeah.
So the puppy looks to us and then we help the puppy with what they want.
Exactly. And those learning systems, they're so important to really establish early on with our puppies. And doing so makes our lives so much easier as we go forward, because the puppies that understand that there is reward from us to come versus the puppies who we bring home and we just let loose in the house and they're running around and they're running underneath the furniture and they're finding little bits of this, that, and the other, or they're grabbing the kids' toys or all the things that puppies will do.
Right.
These are absolutely normal puppy behaviors. Expect them.
Right.
Expect that if you let your puppy be loose in the house, they're going to scavenge through the house. They're going to explore and they very well might find something that's dangerous for them.
Right.
So,
yes. And it's cute the first couple of days. It's like, oh, look at my puppy. But you know what? When they're 6 months old doing it, it's no longer cute.
Absolutely. And when it becomes difficult to corral them or catch them because they've learned just how long your arms are and how to play keep away.
Yes.
Dogs are masters of body language.
Right.
So as soon as we twitch in their direction, they're going to notice that.
Right. Yep.
And if you watch puppies playing, a lot of the times there's a big wrestle factor, but a lot of the times there's a catch me if you can factor if they're not in that stationary wrestle
Yes.
thing.
Especially with some of the little herding breeds. They love to get chased and be chased.
Oh,
yes.
absolutely. So always think about the reward that is happening for the puppy. So if you're chasing that puppy, they're going, woohoo, I'm the big heavy here. I'm the big cheese. I am the center of the universe.
Yes.
And here comes my owner, mom or dad chasing me down and woohoo. As soon as they get close, I'm going to deke out in the opposite direction.
Right. Yeah. Or under the bed I go and now look at them. Their face and arms are sticking under the bed, but they can't catch me.
They can only get those arms in there. Maybe if they try their legs too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, truly. Yeah. I mean, what they practice is what ends up becoming habit.
Yeah.
So
think of children too. Children would think that was great fun.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah. Being chased by an adult throughout the house and diving under things and hiding under things. So it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to do that next time I visit your house.
Oh, nice.
Shannon, I'm grabbing something of yours and I'm under your bed.
running. Oh my gosh. I'm going to get my broomstick. Hey, you, get out of there. I'll just, sweep the broomstick across under the bed. Swanny will go sliding out. Oh my goodness. So yeah, the what is so important. And we want a direct behavior right from the get-go. You're trying so hard not to laugh still. I know you're picturing that image of like Swanny the big dust bunny coming out from... Do you know how much taller hair you would have under you?
And I'm clutching your one shoe that you want.
Truly funny image. If I were to sweep you out from under my bed, if it wasn't like the day I vacuumed, you would be covered in taller hair.
You'd be like, I don't know where Christine is, but this is a lot of hair.
Yeah, literally, I'm putting the vacuum away, and there's a taller hair tumbleweed, and I'm like, where did this come from? I just vacuumed, and Ned's just looking at me, and Reggie would just be looking at me like this. What? I didn't do anything.
It's another thing people need to be prepared for is, you know, puppies don't
shedding
shed.
A mess.
Yeah, little puppies don't really shed, but as they grow, they get their adult coats in, and now they're shedding.
Yeah.
So yes,
this is where, let's talk about this for a second, because this is where consideration of breed comes in really, really handy. And having a breed that, if you have allergies, for example, having a breed that is a non-shedding breed can bridge the gap where you're not able to own a dog or a cat. Now you're able to own a wonderful dog that is non-shedding. But, and I say but, not all non-shedding dogs are non-allergic.
Right,
are hypoallergenic.
Right, and sometimes it's the saliva we're allergic to. Yes,
absolutely. So dander, saliva, all of those things need to come into play. So I would suggest, if at all possible, if you're thinking about a breed, and say, for example, you want a poodle because poodles get clipped, they don't shed, go and visit some poodles. You know, spend some time with them, touching them, see if you do react.
let them lick you. Let them lick your hand and then purposely rub your cheek. Yeah. See if something happens there. Yes.
Yeah, good. Oh, yeah, good idea to rub the cheek. Yeah, all of those things, like testing those out ahead of time before you bring the puppy home, and then realize after you've fallen in love with them and their adult coat starts coming in, and you know what, there is allergies there after all. So,
and shedding breeds, if you like to wear black, no more pure black clothes. I had some nice, you know, black pants, black dresses, and I'd put them on and keep Atari far away from me. It's like, no, don't let Atari come anywhere near me.
Atari was a sheltie.
She was a major shedder.
Yeah.
Instructor Carol, we were chatting with her this morning, and she was showing us her new coat.
Yep.
And she says, I chose gray because gray doesn't show dog hair. Because she goes, I like black, but you know, dog hair with black. So so things to consider. Your wardrobe might change with a puppy.
Yeah, sadly though.
Yeah. Not with the puppy, with the adult hair, because the puppy hair stays inside them, it seems.
Exactly. And you have to fall in love with them.
Right.
And then they know that, you know, you're not getting rid of them based on hair.
Right. And hair, dog, I saw a meme and it says, dog hair is sprinkles of joy, or
magical
sprinkles of love.
Fibers of joy.
That's it. Yes.
Love it. Yeah. And unfortunately, there's not many colors that I can get away with orange. Orange dogs, orange coat. It just shows up everywhere.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure I never, you know what?
You have nothing on you right now.
Oh, there. Oh, but I don't think that's mine, actually. I don't think I think that's from the couch here. So that's whoever.
Although I know you do have, I've seen you in an orange coat, like an actual orange coat.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you in orange pants yet, but.
Those I saved for the obedience ring. Anyways, okay. So the what is so important. Those early skills, those early learning systems, they are such good things to start right off the hop and to continue to build momentum with as your puppy gets older. Now, the next one. Do you have a W?
Is there a when?
There is a when.
When?
Yay, when. So when do you think you should train?
Well, puppies are learning all the time, whether we think so or not. So you start training immediately.
Yes, absolutely. And even though it seems overwhelming when you think about it, the fact that dogs are learning all the time, it needs to be part of your approach, because training mode is such a hoax. Training mode is what we do when we know we need to get in the repetition, right? So if I'm training a recall, for example, I can't just train a recall in my day-to-day life, because I need to set up specific scenarios where first I can teach the action without any distraction. I want to teach my puppy in a fair way what their job is. And that happens in sort of a setup location. We'll do that in the house first. So I'm not going to go out to the park and start trying to teach my dog to focus and recall at the park. I'm going to start in what we call the white room. So there's no distractions going on whatsoever, because I want my dog to be able to have a fair shot at learning. You know, I wouldn't, if I had a child and I wanted them to learn math, I certainly wouldn't try to teach them math while they were on a roller coaster.
Would you take them to a circus to learn math?
Maybe. But no. No, that's a good question though.
Right? Yeah.
Honestly, like sometimes that's what it feels like for our puppies.
Right. Yes.
Because they're so distracted and there's so much excitement and they're going, oh, look, the clowns. And we're trying to go, hey, what's 2 plus 2? What's 2 plus 2? What's 2 plus 2?
Yes.
And, you know, it's just setting ourselves up for frustration. It's setting our puppy up for frustration. And it's also setting them up to absorb the idea that they don't have to listen and they don't have to focus on us because they have this other option. And of course, when they're babies, we don't have a lot of tools to be able to say, hey, leave that thing alone, focus on me instead. So this is why we start in the white room.
Right.
So I'm going to teach my dog what come means in the white room. I'm going to build some drive. I'm going to build some enthusiasm. I'm going to make sure that he thinks, this is just a great game. I love it. It's so fun. And there's nothing more rewarding than getting to you and getting all those wonderful rewards that I get at the end of a recall. And I'm going to practice a ton of these. We do like a ping pong game with our puppies. What do you have recall games that you play?
Oh, definitely. Yes. Like one person holds the puppy, the other person calls. Then that person holds the puppy, the other person calls. So the puppy's just racing back and forth, getting treats or toys. Lots of fun.
Love it.
Yes. I want that word to mean so much fun. And I want the dog to say, I love coming to people.
Absolutely.
Like, people are great.
Yes, absolutely. So if you were to set up a ping pong training recall session in your hallway, how many reps do you think you could get in 2 minutes?
As long as me and the other person are proficient, like with you know, like you and I could get many, probably.
Okay, say it's us. We're proficient.
You and I, we could get 10 or 12, I bet.
I would say at least.
Yeah, at least.
So,
whereas it's a learning, as a brand new dog trainer, though, it takes a bit to learn how to spin the puppy and get them set up again. So, but as you get better at it, it becomes this great game.
Okay, so let's say we did 10 on average. When we say do hundreds of repetition, like there's a 10th of those right there. Right?
Yeah.
So now you come to the next day or a little bit later in the day, you do another 2-minute session, you get another 10 reps in. Like, this just makes math easy for me. Now you've had 20 reps. Wow, look at that. So truly, we say you need to do hundreds of reps before the dog really has the idea, but it's so easy to get in some of these reps. You know, it's not like I have to do 100 training sessions in my house. No, you know what? Do 100 reps in the house, and now you move out to the backyard. Right? The puppy's already like, I just can't wait. Like, this is the best. And we're talking about when, right? When? Yes. When to train. Yeah. So I started getting into the where, but we're going to talk about that as well. So
you are muddying the conversation, Shannon. Muddying it.
So the when piece is all the time, basically.
Yes.
It's all
the time. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. All the time. Puppies are always learning. Yeah. And like house manners are something that you're constantly training with a puppy. So just training the puppy to be in the house.
Yes. And that sounds really overwhelming, right? When I have to train all the time, it sounds overwhelming, but it's not, because our puppies need a lot of sleep.
Yep.
And this is where they get in their reps of taking naps in the crate. You know, they get in their reps of understanding that the crate is a good place to go in and relax and settle down and be quiet. So, I mean, even though it's overwhelming potentially to hear all of the time, your puppy is learning, so you need to be on your best all the time, it just sort of becomes habit. And then
it does. It's a way of life.
Yeah, exactly. And then it feeds into having a well-trained dog, because they're in the habit of listening all the time. You're in the habit of making sure they listen all the time. And then that just becomes habit overall.
Right.
And we've created cooperation by making sure that we give the puppy good, solid, consistent feedback.
Yes.
So when is all the time. Now I think we'll talk about where.
We still have why too.
You gave away the last one.
No one would have guessed that either.
Oh my God. I did that on one of our I can't remember, was it the life skills coaching calls? We do live coaching calls every week with our online students. And we were doing like a sort of a quiz, and I was throwing up a video that would reinforce what we were talking about in the quiz. And of course I said, I was doing the call with instructor Robbie, and I said to instructor Robbie, okay, this one is the such and such. And then I was like, oops.
Spoiler alert.
I just gave it away. And then I said, well, you know what? Guess anyways. But everybody got it right. Go figure. Yeah. It's like giving an open book, or giving a test and leaving the answers on the leaving thing. The map open.
Right. Yes.
Giving a geography test and the maps open at the
and the
maps.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So we'll go back to the wear a little bit. So the white room situation, 100 reps in that white room.
Right.
Then we move out to the backyard. We do another 100 reps in the backyard. Then we move to the front yard. We do another 100 reps. And, you know, these reps don't take a lot of time because they're quick, they're easy, they're fun, and they're enjoyable for the dog. And you can mix up your endings. You know, sometimes have lots of food rewards for the dogs. Sometimes have a toy and have a little bit of play, and then you can work your out as well.
Yes.
So this feeds into the training all the time thing.
Yes. And look at it as something fun too. Like I truly enjoy training my puppies.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. Sometimes I wish there was a different word, because training sometimes has a little bit of a, I got to go out to train.
Yeah, it sounds like work.
Yeah. But like think of it as, you know, I don't know what the word would be, but we're, you know, setting up our puppy for success.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to go out and have fun with my puppy.
Yeah. And that is such an important thing. So I like to think about socializing when we have a young puppy. So this, of course, feeds into the wear. People are always very concerned about the socialization aspect of things. And we've had podcast episodes on socialization. So I don't want to get too deep into it.
Because socializing is a bad description too.
It is. Yeah. It really needs to be exposure.
Yes.
You know, and that's what creates well-socialized dogs. So a dog playing with a whole bunch of other dogs is not going to create a well-socialized dog.
No.
It's actually going to create an over-socialized dog, which is unfortunately not a positive thing. That's a dog that sees another dog and goes, oh my gosh, I can't contain myself.
Right.
I have no emotional control because every single time I see a dog, I get to play. So a well-socialized dog is able to say, nope, you know what? I don't necessarily need to interact with that thing, whether it's another dog, whether it's a person, whether it's a garbage can.
Right.
You know, socialization happens, or exposure, I should say, versus socialization. Exposure happens all of the time.
Right.
You know,
we want our dog to have neutral reactions.
Yes.
It's like
precisely. That's a great word for it.
A Halloween decoration or a Christmas decoration or a flag flapping, but I know it's okay.
Yeah.
And they just walk past with you.
Absolutely. So because dogs are learning all the time, sometimes these two things clash, because people want to get out and walk their dogs so that they can have exposure and socialization to things. And unfortunately then, because the walking skill really isn't in place yet with our young puppies, the puppies tend to rehearse pulling and all sorts of things like that. And we strongly recommend that you don't walk your puppies until you've taken time to teach them how to walk nicely on a leash, because it's really just going to make your life more difficult down the road if you put the cart before the horse and the puppy learns that pulling is okay or poor leash manners are okay, and then you try to come back from that later on down the road. So you're so much better off to teach the skill of walking and then slowly introduce that distraction of the real world as the puppy shows understanding.
Yes.
So exposure can happen by bringing your dogs places without necessarily walking them in a lot of cases. You know, sometimes if you don't have a car, if you're, you know, limited in terms of your transit capabilities, etc., sometimes we need to get by, and we can use training aids and things like gentle leaders, and we can use food lures, and we can use all sorts of things to sort of help us get by, so that we're not necessarily programming the puppy to pull and then trying to come back from that. We're minimizing that damage as much as possible. Know that you don't have to be perfect, right? Are you perfect?
Well,
you are pretty perfect, actually. You're pretty perfect. I'm not perfect. So
you're pretty perfect too, Shannon.
I always need the, I don't have to be perfect reminders. Like, I made a mistake. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that. Or I'll watch a video back.
Right.
You know, I tend to video a lot of my training sessions because I like to watch them back and analyze, especially when I'm training towards competition things. I like to watch them back and analyze. And, you know, it's our art and our science. So of course we don't mind watching paint dry
yes.
by watching our training videos back and back and back. But there's a lot of times where I watch things back and I go, what? How did I miss that? Or what was I thinking there?
Yeah.
Like, of course he stepped out of heel position. My right leg was way off in another room practically. Like my cues were so unhinged that of course he couldn't possibly.
Yes.
But my reminder is always, you know what? Okay. So you made a mistake. Move on.
Right. Yeah.
Guess what?
Yeah. Our dogs are forgiving. They're flexible. They're resilient.
Exactly.
We can make mistakes and still have an awesome dog.
Yeah. So you do not have to be perfect, but try to minimize the damage as much as possible.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So, in terms of exposure, what do you do in the absence of the ability to go walking with your dog?
Well, when my puppy's little, or if I have a small dog, I can carry the dog places. So I might say, you know what? I want the dog to get accustomed to shopping carts and traffic. So I'm going to drive my puppy to the farthest corner of the Walmart parking lot.
The farthest corner of
farthest
the earth.
corner, yes. And we're going to get out of the car. And maybe I'll bring a lawn chair. And, I might look like a weirdo out there, but I'm just going to let my puppy take in the noise, the sounds and of the parking lot of the city, of cars going by.
I was giggling at the word might. I might look like a
weirdo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
no, this is fabulous. This is a
yes.
fabulous way to socialize. It's a fabulous way to expose your puppies to things that you want them to later be neutral over.
Right.
And I love that word. You use that word. That's a fabulous word to use to describe a well-socialized dog. Well-socialized dog is neutral. They're not worried. They're not aggressive. They're not overly enthusiastic about. They're neutral.
Yes.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And I think of places like right now I'm living right smack dab in the middle of a city. So if I did get a puppy right now, it's going to have a lot of different experiences than if I lived out in the country.
Yeah.
We have, there's all kinds of people on our streets. There's all kinds of garbage on the streets.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of noise. We have buses with air brakes. We have all kinds of traffic going by, the sirens.
Yeah, there's a lot. You're in a really busy area.
Yes, a downtown puppy needs a whole different approach to socializing because it has to be able to cope with all this.
Yeah, absolutely. So don't confuse the need to socialize your puppy with the need to rush into these distractions and into these scenarios where, now your puppy has learned to pull on the leash versus walking nicely at your side, or they've learned to jump all over people versus greeting politely. It's cute for a St. Bernard puppy to jump on somebody when they're a 12-week-old puppy, but by the time they're a 14-week-old, 16-week-old puppy, they have enough heft to them to start knocking people over.
Right, yes.
And by the time they are an adult dog, if they're gotten into the habit of jumping on people, that is a dangerous scenario. So ideally we start these things with understanding of how to do it appropriately and properly, and something that's going to fit with the adult dog as well.
Right. So. Yes. And the last thing I'm worrying about when I bring home that new puppy is socializing it with other dogs.
Yes.
I am not concerned about that at all.
Yeah.
I want the dog to be socialized with its environment.
Yes. Absolutely.
And other dogs, a non-issue right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, exposure to nice dogs is going to make sure that your puppy becomes well socialized with dogs. But playing with all sorts of dogs, and especially dogs that you don't know are nice dogs, could have the absolute opposite impact on what you're trying to do, because sometimes it's one bad incident that is going to impact your dog for life. So keep that in mind. Choose your playmates wisely for your dog, and make sure that it is an appropriate situation for your young puppy to be playing with this other dog, especially if it's an adult dog. Not all adult dogs have tolerance for puppies. Some adult dogs are fabulous with puppies, but there's lots of adult dogs that are very selective and that won't like those needle teeth of puppies and might end up reacting negatively. So, and understandably so. So choose playmates wisely.
Right, exactly. It would be like, if I'm walking down the street and suddenly a man or a woman comes up to me and starts hugging me and scratching at my face, it's going to be like, oh, no. Like, older dogs must feel like that. It's like, what is happening here?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yes. And also too, if I'm walking down the street and I stop and let my puppy say, oh, say hi to this dog. Now say hi to this dog. Now my puppy says, I have an expectation.
Yes.
Every time we see a dog, I get to go meet that dog.
Yeah.
And then the day when I don't want my puppy to go meet the other dog, my puppy's going to start to yell and scream and pull at the leash and say, you've done it every other time.
Yeah.
So we
create a lot of reactivity in our dogs.
We do it ourselves.
By doing exactly this and thinking that it's good advice to go and let your puppies play with other puppies or other dogs because that's good socialization, unfortunately feeds into that myth and makes things worse.
Right.
So.
Yes. Yes. A lot of people will say, oh, I don't know why he's like this on leash. If he's off leash, he's fine. And it's because he gets what he wants off leash.
Yep.
When you're holding him on leash, he's frustrated and he's acting out. Let him off leash. Hooray, I've won. I'm off leash.
Yeah.
Reacting gets me good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we're not advocating for letting them off leash before they're ready for that.
No.
That's for sure, because that'll get you a whole other world of problems.
Yes.
Yeah. I am going to reach into our little...
the magic question jar.
Magic question jar. There's a lot of stuff in there. Okay. Random question from our YouTube channel. So if you have questions for us, we would be more than happy to add them to our random pile of questions here.
Just put them in the comments.
Yeah. Now this one, this is actually a really good question. So it ties into exactly what we're talking about here with our young puppies and how we can take them out and about and when and where and, all of that stuff. So this question is from Florida Dame and a whole bunch of numbers. So hi, Florida Dame. Thank you for leaving us your question. So the question is, how can you take them out without vaccines? So Swanny, what do you think about that? That's a really good question because this is a valid concern.
Right.
Our young puppies don't necessarily have the immunity factors that we would like until they've had their full set of vaccinations.
Yes.
So what are some of your rules for making sure that you still get to get out and expose them to things without exposing them to too much danger?
Well, I'm going to make sure I want to get my new puppy out. There's that socialization or, window. So I'm going to take them to places where other dogs don't frequent.
Yes, perfect.
So my corner of the Walmart parking lot, chances are there's no other dog over there. So it's safe.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go to my local park because that's where everyone walks their dog.
Yeah.
Even my front lawn at my new place is apparently a community toilet, I've noticed, which is very gross. So I don't even let Honda, my adult dog, go on my front lawn because I know it's full of germs from other dogs. So I'm going to be smart. I'm going to carry my dog through any suspect areas. I'm only going to place them down in areas where I feel dogs aren't frequenting.
Yeah, very good call. So it is generally accepted in North America, at least, and in a lot of places in Europe, but check with your local veterinarian because a lot of the times they get their 8-week vaccinations. So generally that covers the core vaccinations for at least distemper and parvo. And parvo is the huge concern with our young puppies. It is deadly in a lot of cases.
Or very expensive to fix.
Very quick, very debilitating, awful stuff. So we want to avoid as much as possible. So we want to avoid dog feces and whatnot, but it is generally accepted in the veterinary community that the benefit of early exposure by far outweighs the risks in our communities that come along with getting our puppies out and about with caution, of course. So getting them out and about means, like you said, avoiding other dog areas, avoiding, dog parks. Do not.
Nowhere near.
I would not even take a fully vaccinated puppy to a dog park personally.
No.
We do not like the use of dog parks. There's so many dangers involved there. And of course we hear all of the awful stories. So
likewise, daycares.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Daycare is definitely a place where you could come across different germs and all that for your puppy. Yeah. Plus, if the staff isn't good at the daycare, who knows what's going to happen to your puppy there? You could have some very bad experiences. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, daycares are not a solution.
No, and puppies can get very overwhelmed with things. So we want to go about our exposure and our socialization in a bit more of a systematic fashion. I would look for a reputable dog training school. I would look for a dog training school that was diligent about checking vaccines for all of the puppies that come into the program.
Right.
And
does thorough cleanings.
Yes, exactly. With a parvo approved approved killing product. If you've ever applied for classes at McCann Professional Dog Trainers, we do not let anybody step foot into the building without seeing those puppy vaccinations. And we are sticklers about it. And sometimes, unfortunate things happen where people forget their vaccines. And, if we can't get in touch with their vet, we turn them away. And we feel horrible doing it. We really do. But I always say to people, we're being this diligent about your puppy's safety, and we're being this diligent about the safety of all of the other puppies in class as well. So keep that in mind. When you come, we're providing you with a safe environment to train your puppy in, because we're being just as big a stickler with everybody else that comes through the door as well. So of course we feel awful, having to say, I'm sorry, your puppy can't attend class today because we haven't seen vaccines, or we haven't confirmed with your vet, or whatever the case may be. It's very infrequent that we can't these days get the vaccination records, but say for example, it's a Saturday class and their vet clinic's not open on a Saturday and they've forgotten their records. So, we can't take the chance. It's just not worth it. And you should hold your training school accountable to that same high degree of efficacy, because it is so important. So important. It's not something that should be fluffed off at all.
A lot of people like taking their puppies to the pet store when they first bring them home. So I would not put my puppy on the floor at the pet store.
Definitely not.
I would, if I'm bringing a puppy to the pet store, it's staying in my arms, and I'm limiting who can touch my puppy too.
Yeah, good call.
If somebody's just touched their unvaccinated dog and then suddenly is patting my puppy, not the best. So I usually don't bring a new puppy to a pet store, but I know some people like to do that. But just be careful. Be very careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Avoid areas that are frequented by dogs that you don't know their vaccination status, etc. So, alrighty. That was a great question. So I want to thank that person for sending it in. And now I want to talk about the why.
Why? Why did I get a puppy?
Why did I get a puppy? That's a good why question.
I could have got a goldfish.
I could have gotten a goldfish and not been out here at 2 a.m. in the middle of winter waiting for the goldfish to pee, because they would just pee in their bowl.
They would just pee in their bowl.
We don't even need to house train goldfish.
No, we don't.
They're bowl trained already.
Yeah.
It's like having a cat.
Right? And they never run away. Well, sometimes they give a big
Cats
flop.
don't like swimming though, but
no. Goldfish don't run away, but sometimes they do flip out of their tank.
Only Muddy the Mud Skipper. He runs away. It's Muddy, Mud Skipper. Anyways, that was
and you can still, and there's
That's a
so
blast from my past.
There's so many Gritty Kitty. Remember they used Gritty Kitty cat litter. Yes. And remember Log.
Yes,
it's Log.
What rolls downstairs, a loader in pairs, all over your neighbor's dog.
It's Log. It's Log.
It's great for a snack. It fits on your back. It's log. I think I could probably
it's big,
sing
it's
the
bad.
whole...
It's wood.
It's big. It's heavy. It's wood.
Oh, it's big. It's heavy. It's wood.
I don't know why I remember the full Log song, but I do.
It's a good song.
Hilarious. All right. So why train?
Well, you're going to enjoy your puppy much better if it's trained. And your puppy leads a bigger life when they're trained. Yeah. They're not confined to your house and yard.
Yeah. You're going to enjoy them because you can communicate with them. That's the thing. It's amazing the relationship that you can build when you can communicate honestly with the creature. Not in a way that, oh, you know what? My Jack Russell's stubborn. That immediately sets my mind into a negative idea, and it immediately makes me think my dog's doing something to spite me, which is not the case. And we don't want to think that way.
Right.
We want to be able to communicate on an honest level with our dogs. I want to be able to look at my Jack Russell and say, oh, you know what? He's not listening right now because he's conflicted because there's a rat noise in the ground, or there's something in motion, or whatever. Right. And you know what? I need my Jack Russell to listen. So now I'm going to make sure that I train and have lots of moving objects and have lots of weird noises. And I might even, utilize things like barn hunt to go to that location and work with my dog to listen. So
yes. And barn hunt is a sport that is becoming more popular.
It is.
Where they set up all kinds of bales of hay, and there's a maze, and they have rats in a cage, and it's all done like the rats are adjusted to dogs. They're treated well. They're people's pets, and the dogs can't get anywhere close to hurting them. And the dogs have to explore all the tunnels and try to figure out where is the rat in this huge pile of hay.
So fun.
It's
for
a good,
terrier.
it's, yes.
Like, there would be no better time in the world for a terrier than something like that.
Right, yes.
So.
I would like to climb through the tunnels and have all kinds of fun. I think that would be fun.
Like to as well.
And then be able to sit with the little rats at the end. That'd be a great thing.
We should build a human-sized barn hunt maze.
Yes,
I'm totally into it.
In the middle of the barn hunt, there's a little baby rat and a martini.
Perfect. I'll take wine, though. I'm not really a martini fan. I like the visual of the martini with the olive. I think it's a very classy visual. Yes. But, vermouth.
Oh. Actually, you know what? I'm going to tell the honest truth here. I don't think I've ever had a martini.
No. I've only, when I went to New York City.
Very sheltered life. Very sheltered.
I went to New York City when I was young. We actually went to a concert at Madison Square Gardens when it still was Madison Square Gardens and existed. And we had gone to New York for the weekend specifically for the concert. Right. It was Elton John. Actually, I think it might have been Elton and Billy. It might have been a face-to-face tour.
That's a good tour.
They all get. I've seen Elton John so many times. Like, my sister and I started going when we were like 16. We started traveling and seeing Billy Joel first.
Elton has requested that you don't come anymore. Says, I am tired of seeing Shannon.
That's why he retired.
Tired, yeah. That's it. Too much Shannon.
The Farewell Yellow Brick Road tour. That's
Farewell to Shannon tour.
So, yeah, we went to New York City, and I was like, oh, I'm in New York. I have to have like some sort of like really suave drink. Right. And I think I was in my early 20s. And so I ordered a vodka martini, and I was like, oh, that is not what I was expecting at all. And it's horrible.
I think there's a drink called a Manhattan. That would have maybe been one to try.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's in that.
I don't know
I'm not very
either.
worldly when it comes to
alcohol. If someone knows what's in a Manhattan,
wine.
Put it in the comments.
There you go. Tell us what's in a Manhattan. I'm sure it's probably like common knowledge for most people.
Right,
but
yes.
It's surprising that neither one of us know.
Well, I think you should get a bar cart for your house. You know, like in the old movies, you go in and they mix you a drink off a cart in the living room. That's what you need. That's what you need.
Yeah. I'm going to hire a full-time bartender too, just so that when I say I'd like a Manhattan and I have no idea what's in it, I can now try a Manhattan.
Excellent.
I think that's a worthwhile investment.
Money well spent, Shannon. Money well spent. You know what? I don't think you need to pay your electricity bills or anything like that. Instead, have a personal bartender.
You know what? I'm going to train my dog to be a bartender, and then it ties into the why.
That's perfect. What? Yeah.
Actually, one of our
you can tell we're not drinkers.
Yeah. One of our members only students, Alicia, with Lord Darnley of Berkchester. Hilarious name, right?
Yes.
He goes by Darnley. But she trained him to grab her a beer out of the fridge. She's trained him to bring her and her partner the channel changer. So like she'll actually say, no, bring it to him. Bring it to me, bring it to him. Like, so much fun. So I bet we could train Lord Darnley to be a bartender.
He could be our butler.
He's already well on his way.
Yes.
A whole butler job too. Right. Fabulous. No, seriously though, the why. Communication. Communication is crucial. Like squirrel. Okay, I'm back on track.
I know, yes, it's like,
Communication is crucial. Enjoyment, just being able to say to your dog, like the simplest things sometimes I think that was so easy. That was so easy. Like Ned, when we hang out outside, there's always toys outside, and he always wants to bring them inside. And when I go to bring him in the house, the outside toys have to stay outside. And he almost always, because he's told. Right. My toddlers want to have stuff in their mouth all the time. So he'll try to bring stuff in. And, usually he gets past me before I realize that he's bringing it in. But it's so easy for me to go, hey, buddy, come on back out here. Drop that.
Right.
Okay, in you go. And when it's things like that, I think, it's so nice and easy that I can just communicate with you. So I enjoy him so much because I don't have that frustration of having to be like, oh my gosh, now this toy's in the house and now I have to go and chase him down or I have to go and pick it up and move it outside, which isn't really a big deal, but it would get arduous if it happened every single time we went out.
Right. Or even something like when I go to the vet clinic, they want to weigh your dog.
Yeah.
Honda can't hear anymore, but I just get his attention and I motion to the scale and he gets up. I show him the signal for weight and he just waits and we get this perfect weight. When I used to work at the vet clinic.
Perfect weight with a weight.
Yes. It was very entertaining to watch people trying to get their dogs on the scale and then to stand still to get an accurate weight. Like it was, I thought, how can you not just get your dog to step up and stand still for a moment?
Yeah.
But they've
And
never.
even in a sit, like they're allowed to sit.
Right,
They
yeah.
don't have to be in a stand to get the weight. And,
Right.
Yeah.
But it was a circus, like people wrestling their dogs on the scale and people wiping their brows. And it was like, this has taken a long time.
For sure. Well, and like just being able to do all these things without it being a huge fiasco and without it wasting all that time. But I will tell you the biggest reason that I train, the biggest, what do you think I'm going to say?
You enjoy it?
Well, that too, but that's not what I was going to say.
You want a well-trained dog?
I do want a well-trained dog.
You have some secret reason.
I can keep my dog safe.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. If my dog is, and like the freedom that I'm able to give my dog while knowing that I can call him back and keep him safe.
It's the bigger life.
It's
the dog has the bigger life.
Absolutely.
Yep. Like you can let them swim in the pond.
Yep.
You can take them on vacation.
Yep.
You can take them to your mother-in-law's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I would, but no, I'm just kidding. I don't actually, well, I mean, I have in-laws on the other side of my family, but I'm not married, so I don't have a mother-in-law. All right. This has been a really
I'll be
fun
your
episode.
mother-in-law, Shannon.
Yeah. Nice. You know what? You'd be a cool mother-in-law. I would totally bring my dog to you as my mother-in-law. On that note, I'm Instructor Shannon.
Instructor Swanny.
Happy training.
The McCann Dogs Podcast is brought to you by McCann Professional Dog Trainers. We help dog owners to have a well-behaved, four-legged family member. Please give us a call at 905-659-1888 or visit us at mccanndogs.com. Happy training!